Yeah, I mean, when you have trying to launch a cinematic universe, a light comic movie with supernatural shenanigans, the intelligence can only go up so high before you have to bring the bats back in.
Yeah, the bats would come in right when things were, it needed to get from the next thing. That's the thing. If they had tamed down the fantasy element and amped the history and the horror, I think that would have really have been one of my favorite movies, because I like that kind of thing that blends genres, where this didn't quite pull it off.
And I forgot to mention that Vladkin has the power to turn into bats and fly by transport in this film. That's something very critical. So I'm embarrassed that I missed that. I'm trying to think of a movie that does what you're talking about, where there's historical realism, but it does successfully blend genres in a way that, but it's also not total schlock. So
the Dracula with Keanu Reeves almost got there.
Right.
It had some Major League schlock in it.
Mostly Keanu Reeves, yes, which probably one of the absolute worst British accents I think I've ever heard in a movie. But Gary Oldman, he's in there. He's always great, and fantastic job as Count Dracula. That is an interesting point, because as a period piece, it gets the sets done very well, but it conveys the Gothic horror nicely. So yeah, that's a good counterpart. Too bad.
Even Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer or Zombie Slayer,
Vampire Hunter,
like that.
Yes.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter, like that got close to that kind of, that's what it was going for that.
Right. So that type of, and it's how do I describe it? It winks at the camera more, but it's also done a little bit slicker. So it's not it's not unintentionally silly the way that this movie is.
Yeah.
This is a very unintentionally silly movie. I don't know if the screenwriters or the director in their minds thought, like, we are making the 21st century version of the Iliad, where it's history, but then it's fantasy mixed in. Maybe somebody said that, or maybe they knowingly made a schlocky movie. I'm not sure. These are things I'm curious about.
Yeah, I almost believe like there was a really good writer who was probably like, typing scripts out and like crumpling them up in a ball in total frustration while they're writing more bat scenes.
Yeah, I think things like this.
The rest of the team.
When things get stupid, I think from what I know of filmmaking, it's usually studio interference, where the producers who are bankrolling the movie say, my kid likes those stupid Marvel movies. I don't understand them, but he likes those X-Men movies too. Can you make him control bats? Can you make him control whatever and give him... Wait, why don't make him heal? My boy, he likes that Wolverine movie. Give him some...
Yeah.
You can give him some Wolverine claws, and that's where it gets stupid. So maybe it was a very intelligent movie and all these things, and then it went off the rails with... let's see. The only thing I can think of is, but beyond all we talked about, I would have loved more of the Ottoman military. I love Ottoman military history. We didn't see the compound bow, which is like a more sophisticated version of the Mongolian bow. They would have had that. They would have had early firearms like arquebuses, giant cannons, siege towers. There weren't enough mustaches. If you were an elite Ottoman soldier, you had to have a mustache. In fact, in old documents, when they would denote ages of people, saying if they were young or older, if you were younger, you would say without a mustache, and if you're older, they would say with a mustache. So adolescent is without one, and then, or preteen is no mustache, and then full adolescent was with mustache. They did have they had some of the drummers in the Ottoman military band, the Mehter band, but I would have loved more of their woodwind instruments that they have. So that's my main gripe. Anything else you would have liked, Steve, in this movie to make it a masterpiece?
No, I think just all the things we talked about, it would really, if this would have, I'm not going to say the movie wasn't entertaining. I mean, a lot of times with these movies, I'll start to zone out, and this one kept my attention for the entire 90 minutes. I think that was one of the best parts, is that it was a good old-fashioned hour and a half, done, moving on.
Yeah, if you're on an airplane, it's a perfect movie if you're on an airplane and just want to kill time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we've staked Dracula Untold into the ground. So
yeah, it's done.
So there it is. That's the movie I love. All right. Well, we'll probably pull out more movies in the future of those we liked, and there'll be infinitely more of those we hated since Hollywood continually churns those out. So thank you for joining us in this episode. So that is the episode for today. As always, I want to thank the Knowlton's Rangers, especially our Spy Masters, Todd Warren, Jake Harrington, Beverly Engel, Bill Ivey, Joyce Norman, Tyler from Colorado, Josh Reddick, Baron Fraser, Chris from Maine, Carl from Norway, Moondoggy from Ohio, Rick Knowlton, Vic and Irene, Mike from New York, Michelle, and Marlene. I'll explain what that is in a second. If you like the show and want to help it grow, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1, like and subscribe to the show on the podcast player of your choice. This helps spread the word about the show. 2, join our Facebook group. Here we can keep the discussion going about new episodes, and you can talk about what you like and didn't like. And you can find this group if you just search for History Unplugged on Facebook. 3, we have an online store with t-shirts, phone covers, and other accessories featuring awesomely bad history puns that were crowdsourced by you, the audience. And you can find that if you go to public.com and look for History Unplugged, or you just go to historyonthenet.com and look for our store there. 4, and this is really the best way to dive deep with History Unplugged, and that's to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you know your American history, you know the Knowlton's Rangers were an elite spy and reconnaissance group in the American Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the membership program of History Unplugged. You can join at 3 levels. If you join at the level of Scout, you can hear all the episodes of History Unplugged completely ad-free and get early access to new episodes, at least a week early. If you join at the Intelligence Officer level, you get special bonus episodes, like a 10-part series on the World War II hero Audie Murphy, a multi-part series called Ottoman Lives about different people in the Ottoman Empire, and a series called Rendezvous with Death that looks at biographical profiles of Americans who went to fight in World War I before America entered the war. The last level is Spy Master, where you get all that stuff, but you also get 3 hardcover history books, Forging a President, How the Wild West Created Teddy Roosevelt, Race to the Top of the World, Richard Byrd and the First Flight to the North Pole, and The Last Fighter Pilot, the true story of the final combat mission of World War II. Another bonus is, you can choose a history topic for me to focus on for an entire episode that can go up to an hour, and I'll answer whatever question you have for me, and you get a shout out at the end of each episode. If you want to learn how to become a member of the Knowlton's Rangers, go to patreon.com/unplugged. That's patreon.com/unplugged. All right, well, that is all for my spiel. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast, from ancient Greece to the Cold War and everything else in between. See you next time.